I had learned how to meet people and how to prospect.
Right. When you're not willing to sacrifice for what you want becomes the sacrifice.
So for 18 months, I worked 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. I'd go home and sleep for about 2.5, 3 hours. And then I'd wake up, put the suit on, I'd go to the office, and I'd call people. I'd go door to door, actually, for a period of time. Every like 4 to 6 p.m. or so, I'd go door to door.
I understand that work ethic. You understand that work ethic. But so many people, what they don't understand about success. Welcome to this episode of Cracking the Success Vaults. I'm interviewing my business partner, Sean Penhale, today. Sean, thanks for being on.
No problem. I don't really think I had a choice, did I?
No, not at all. And so, listen, I think this is a great opportunity for us to have our audience get to know each of us a little bit better. And so I wanted to just kind of start. You've had an interesting, career and life start to your journey. I've heard your story a number of times, but why don't you take us, through maybe a little bit of your upbringing and how that kind of led to, a career in swimming, followed by, a couple different career moves, and ultimately into financial services.
Yeah, absolutely. Born and raised to a middle income family in central rural Alberta, out of Red Deer. I have two older sisters that are twins, huge sports family. So that was a big part of growing up and the lessons that come with sports.
Right.
Grit, determination, not giving up, setting goals, all that kind of stuff. And I learned very early on that athletics was going to be a part of my life. My parents and I were watching the Olympics in '96, watched Donovan Bailey win a gold medal. And I remembered his facial expression, winning, all the years of hard work, all that kind of stuff. And I just decided that's what I wanted to do. Didn't know what sport, didn't know whatever. Was doing a lot of things, soccer, volleyball. I come from a big volleyball family. And swimming. We used to go to a place called Sylvan Lake every summer. And when it was time to go, I would swim out to the buoys, and my dad would have to come and get me because I never wanted to leave the water. So they just said, let's put these kids in swimming lessons and see what happens. And I became really good.
And so swimming was not cheap for your family.
No.
Like there were some hard choices to be made and
lots of hard choices. So I started swimming summer club, just, May through mid-August or whatever. When I was 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, so 5 summers. But from basically when I was 8 onwards, I kept telling my parents, like, this is what I want to do. I want to go all in. I want to swim all year round. And they're like, you're too young. You don't really know what you want to do yet. That's a big commitment. And every year I just kept asking.
Right.
And I kept getting better and better and better, winning more medals, etc. And my parents finally came to me and said, okay, like, if that's what you want to do. I went from 5 months summer club directly into 12 months of winter club. And my parents basically sat me down and said, listen, if this is what you want to do, you're going to do it full time. This isn't a 1 or 2 year thing. This is a commitment. And I was like, that's okay, fine. Like, you can tell me all you want, but I've been wanting to do this for years. So like, it's fine. We don't need to have this conversation.
Right. I've been asking for it.
But it came with some pretty hard choices because my parents had to sit my sisters down and actually say, listen, like, if you guys want to play travel volleyball or whatever, you guys have to get jobs because, your brother's going to do this thing and it's going to cost a lot more money than it has in the past. And so, it's not just as simple as, a swimsuit and some goggles, the coaching fees. And then I think it was so I turned 13. At 15, I made my first national team. And then every month I was somewhere.
Right. A lot of travel.
Florida, Hawaii, LA, Texas, you name it. Hotels, flights, chaperone fees, everything.
Right.
It was a lot. It was like, basically almost, probably one full paycheck of one of my parents
Right.
every month
Every month.
for swimming.
So, and then the nice thing is though that ultimately led to a collegiate career.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Very
talk about that.
very unlikely, to be honest. I had an injury in 2006. I was screwing around on the basketball court after swimming was over, and I tore some ligaments in my ankle really badly trying to do an under the leg layup thing. So 2008 Olympics were going to be pretty tough for me to make coming back from something like that. And so I wasn't even going to go to school in 2006-07 was my first year, because I just wanted to train full time for 2008 and hopefully overcome that injury. But after that injury happened, it was kind of like, man, like what's going to happen? I guess it was 2005 that happened. And a few years prior, there was a girl and her brother who had family in Red Deer, but they lived in Vancouver Island. They came to Red Deer for, I want to say, Christmas training maybe, and we just became friends. And she actually ended up going to the University of Western Kentucky. Right. So she was a year older than me. And that year, after her first year, they were losing their 200 butterfly or 400 IMer distance freestyle swimmer, and she knew that those were the events that I swam. And I wasn't the athlete that videotaped things and sent things out recruiting. I didn't do any of that because I had no expectation of going to school. I was going to swim full time.
Right.
Then I got hurt, and I was like, man, like now my options are a little bit kind of lower.
Right.
And
because that would have like potentially eliminated the Olympics as an option.
Yeah.
So now you're thinking maybe I need to reconsider.
Maybe I need to reconsider my path. Yeah. And the coach reached out to me unexpectedly. She didn't even tell me she was giving my number to him. She just did, and he called me, and I went on one recruiting trip. I was really late signing. They'd already done 2 or 3 different recruiting trips, and they brought me out kind of last minute. I would say maybe like March or April for the following summer. Mm-hmm. And I had a really fun 3 days. A lot of the Canadian swimmers, males, friends of mine, I had 3 or 4 of them already signed there. So it was a little bit kind of fun and comfortable to be on a team with some guys that I was already training on the national team with, mm-hmm. That were going there. And it just seemed like that was going to be the next step. I basically signed an offer that weekend, and then I had to figure out the rest from there because I hadn't taken my SATs, I hadn't taken my ACTs, I hadn't done any of that stuff. Luckily, I was going down to, I want to say San Diego maybe, like 3 weeks from now, or 3 weeks from then, for a competition. And I sat out the Sunday because I went to some random high school in the middle of San Diego, and I wrote some tests.
That's funny.
And I got enough. I got a big enough score that they would accept me. Mm-hmm. Academics was never my thing. I was always athletics first and academics second. Sometimes I regret that, but it was a weird series of events.
Right, that's a pretty cool story. So, okay, so you ended up on a full ride scholarship, swimming scholarship to Western Kentucky. You were there for a few years. You took a business program.
Business marketing
program. Yeah. And I imagine probably had no idea what you were going to do with your life after that, but just knew you were going to swim for a few years and enjoy the college experience and whatnot. So you come back to Canada at the end of your college career. You fell just short of the Olympics, I believe, right? Is the way that played out. But still very distinguished swimming career, amazing.
Yeah.
You mentioned you swam for the Canadian juniors?
Yeah, so there was a few different things. So at 16, represented Canada at what was originally what's called the Youth Olympic Festival. So it was like 3 weeks in Australia. And then I had some Pan American Games stuff, Commonwealth Games in 2010 in India, which was an absolutely fantastic experience. But I missed out on World Championships twice and the Olympics twice.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, listen, man. So you've been around the world at this point.
Yep.
How old are you? Maybe when you come back, 20 years old?
21, I want to say.
So you've already traveled the world. You've seen some high levels of success already. But your swimming career is probably starting to come to an end.
Yep.
And so what happens next? You get back to Alberta. What happens?
Yeah, so I spent a first year after university was in Victoria at the National Training Center, which went okay, nothing great, and decided that wasn't for me. Wanted to come back to Alberta, so I went to Calgary, where I was prior to taking my scholarship. Lived with my uncle again. Had no idea what I was going to do. Business marketing degree, could do anything.
Right.
I loved consumer behavior. I loved understanding business and why people make decisions that they make, et cetera.
Right.
And yeah, I was working contract floor laying with my uncle.
Right.
We were, carpet, tile, lino, you name it. Because nobody would give me a job when I could only work like 4 hours in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
I was always at the pool at 5:30, swim from 6 to 8, out of the pool by 8:30 in dry land. Couldn't be anywhere in Calgary till say 9:30, depending on where I was going. And then I had to be back at the pool for 1:30 to be back in the water at 2 o'clock. So nobody would give me a job.
Right.
I had the odd Canadian Tire job on a Tuesday, Thursday night for a few hours, stocking shelves, doing that kind of thing.
Yep.
But my uncle was super helpful. He just needed another sort of, call it grunt hand to, lift carpet and do that kind of stuff. So I got to learn that kind of business a little bit. But I'd basically call him in the morning, hey, I'm done. Where am I meeting you? And I'd go to the address and we'd do that kind of thing. We happened to do a basement repair. A guy's foundation had cracked.
Yeah.
And we had a bunch of water that summer. And so his basement had flooded. So we were ripping out the carpet, installing new carpet, all that kind of stuff. And we just happened to be at a house of a gentleman named Sean Patterson.
Yeah.
Who, he taught me the business. Going from the van outside to downstairs, I just kind of heard what he was talking about because he was training somebody else from his kitchen table.
Yep.
And I understood the numbers and what they were talking about. And my parents and I always talked about money my parents talked with my sisters and I really about money, but they didn't really have, good, solid financial background, acumen. There's zero financial literacy.
You'd classify them as an average Canadian family who's not had access to,
correct,
advanced financial literacy education. And so, they know what they know, but at least they were open about it. So you kind of had some understanding.
Yeah. Knew some things maybe not to do, but at the same time was never really taught how bad those things could be.
Right.
So very early on when I was traveling the world, got my first credit card. I needed something to be able to use while I was away. Couldn't use my debit card. Right. Basically at 19 years old, thought it was free money, racked up credit cards. I lost my sponsorship from my carding from Swimming Canada due to an injury. Now I didn't have the funds that I was counting on to pay for the credit card. So that became tough. I just learned a lot of financial lessons the hard way.
Right.
And so learning finances and financial services, I guess, learning money was something I always wanted to have. I always wanted to be successful, whether it was swimming, business. I knew I wanted to, dress up nicely. I wanted to have control of my time. I wanted to have a nice car, a nice house, have the luxuries in life that things can provide.
Right.
But nobody was ever willing to sort of teach me.
Right. And you and I have talked about this, and I think it ties in with the theme of the podcast is, there's nothing wrong that, people say money can't buy happiness, but it sure makes it easier.
Yeah.
And you and I come from sort of similar backgrounds where we didn't necessarily come from money. We saw, you know, what it was like to maybe struggle a little bit, and we had a desire to not need to struggle and to have some of the better things. So I think that's really cool. I think it's also really amazing how just by happenstance you happen to be in a house where two other guys named Sean are sitting at a kitchen table having a conversation about financial services, and just the fact that you happen to be in proximity to be able to hear enough of it to get inspired to say, hey, what are you guys talking about? I'm very curious, and I want to learn what you do. So you go through this process, and to your point, you've had a pretty open dialogue with your parents about money, and so I know you and Sean meet for coffee.
Yeah.
And
we scheduled a 30-minute introduction for him to tell me what he does, and what he was talking about, and it lasted like 3 hours. I just kept asking questions upon questions. I'm very curious. I ask
a lot of questions.
I ask a lot of questions, a lot of people. So halfway through, I just kind of said, okay, well, like imagine a family was this much debt and this much stuff and this much whatever, like what could you do? And he was kind of like, rough, if this is all accurate, kind of here's what we could do. And it could free up, $900, $1,000 a month. And I was like, wow, okay. Like, how come no one's ever talked to my family about this? Because he didn't know that I was using my own family's financial services, financial plan.
Right.
And I was like, okay, well, if this is true, I'll start with you the next day. And he's like, it's very true. Like, trust me, it's true. And I was like, okay, well, then what do I got to do?
Right.
And at the time, we were with a multi-level marketing company. And I always say I'm extremely fortunate that I found that opportunity, because at 21 years old or 22 years old, being done university, I didn't really actually finish my degree. I was like 3 or 4 courses short,
right,
because of Commonwealth Games and just what some teachers sort of did. They were willing to give a chance to a 21, 22-year-old kid to learn the business on a part-time basis. I didn't have to quit swimming. I didn't have to be there 8 hours a day. I didn't have to do all that stuff that all the other companies required me to do.
Right.
I mean, after the fact, I went and had some interviews, with, the IGs, Edward Jones's, banks.
Right.
And it was, they wanted full-time hours.
Show up
45 hours a week. Yeah, you're going to be probably commission only, but you're going to have to hustle. You're going to have to grind. And, oh, by the way, you're 22 years old. So, tell us who your market is, and put together a list of 200 names. And if you can't do that, you don't even pass step 1. And I was like, well, I just spent 5 years in the United States. I don't know anybody.
Right.
And so I probably knew a dozen people, maybe coaches, assistant coaches, my own family. And like, I had no friends. Right. I didn't keep in touch with anybody after high school.
Right. The last time you'd seen anybody was 5.
I was 16 years old. Yeah, last time I saw anybody, because when I came home, I was home for 3 weeks, see my family, and then right back to the U.S.
Right.
And I was very fortunate that not only were they teaching me the business, they taught me how to meet people. They taught me how to network and how to prospect and skills that I would need later on in my career.
Right.
But they took a chance when most people wouldn't.
Right. Right. That's awesome. So, okay. So you get started in Calgary. Your mentor at the time, things are going okay. You're kind of part-time in the business, part-time swimming, and ultimately your swimming career comes to kind of an end. You retire, you go through probably a little bit of a depression, so to speak. You're trying to figure out your life and get it together. What happens next?
Yeah, so with that company, as is with, I would say, what should be everybody, they were very heavily focused on personal development.
Right.
And so that was something I'd never been exposed to before, even as an athlete, which was very interesting, because I was at the end of my career kind of spinning my wheels, unsure of what I wanted to do. Do I keep trying to go for, Rio Olympics in 2016, or do I call it quits? But as I've told on other podcasts, I learned early on from my dad that, quitting's not really an option. So I felt really bad about quitting on a career and not getting where I wanted to go when my parents had put all this effort into it, which was pretty tough. But I was also tired of spinning my wheels and not getting where I wanted to go. And so there's a guy named Ed Milet, runs a great podcast.
Yeah.
He started in that company that I was a part of at the time. And we had an annual event at Banff National Hotel at the Banff Springs. And I went up there, roomed with a bunch of different people because at the time, I didn't have a ton of money. So we just kind of shared rooms. And Ed told this kind of story about his baseball career and how after taking some self-awareness, sort of outside perspective, that he never, ever truly gave baseball everything he had, because if he failed, he could at least go back and be like, well, if I just put in a little bit more effort, I probably could have made it.
Right.
And it was really hard for me that weekend, because I was in this headspace of what do I want to do and all that kind of stuff, that I really took that to heart. And I started driving back to Calgary, and on the weekend I was like, man, like, is that me? Like, am I that guy? Did I go all in?
75%?
Right. Yeah. Was I 75, 80, 90, whatever?
Right.
Did I go all in?
Yeah.
Right. And I was unsure. And so on Monday morning, I woke up to go to practice, and it was the first time in 20 years that my thought was, I could just hit a snooze button and nobody would know the difference. And that was kind of scary for me, just because it was the only thing I'd ever known.
Right.
And I was just like, man, like, if that's the way I'm feeling, I think I'm done.
Right.
Right. And, but it was the best decision that I ever made, because it opened all these other doors for me. And had I not gone to Banff and had I not heard Ed Milet, I mean, fuck, I'd probably still be a 36-year-old kid trying to swim.
Yeah.
And my body just couldn't take it anymore.
But at this point, you don't have the perspective that you do today.
No.
And so you're seeing this as, I'm a quitter, I guess, and maybe a failure.
Yep.
But you're not recognizing the great success that you actually achieved. How many people get to say that
Correct.
they were a Canadian representative at the Junior Olympics or a full ride scholarship to U.S. Collegiate Institute.
At the height of my career, I was like top 50 in the world.
Right.
I made a final at Commonwealth Games. I placed 8th. I got to travel the world. I got to meet tons of amazing people.
Right.
I'm still in contact with lots of them today.
Right.
And that led to other experiences. After I retired, I went down and spent 6 weeks with my friend in Brazil, and he took me around his country, and just so many amazing things. But at the time, I was like, I failed. I spent 20 years doing something, and now I failed.
So, and that's fair. In the moment, I understand why somebody would see it that way. But now that you've had, give it, how many years has it been now? Probably 15 years almost? 12?
9.
You were
9? No, 10.
10 years.
So I stopped in 2015.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So 10 years removed from that, are you able to look back and see how those experiences are the foundation of your character and the success you are building today? And and that's the thing. I think the takeaway is that those experiences should be the thing that matter, not the end result.
Correct.
Right? And that's where we've talked about this a lot. People don't understand. It's the Simon Sinek analogy of the infinite game, right? Yes, a sports career has a limit, and there's a finite amount of competition, but it's the skill set and the struggle and the successes that build your character, which far surpasses the limits of those games. So you've made the decision to pack it in on the swim career. You're not probably 100% sold yet on financial services. You're not 100% committed there yet. And I know this might be hard for you, but I know you struggled with this. So
Yeah.
Take us through what happens over the next, I guess, couple of years, and ultimately what leads you to be here in Windsor, Ontario.
Yeah.
Take a minute.
I knew this was going to happen. Yeah. So I go and I get a job. I knew I wanted to be in sales. That was the big thing for me. I wanted to have control of time, control of income, but it's interesting because those things are everything that I've ever wanted. And I'm living with my uncle who ended up committing suicide. Right. Which was super difficult because, you know, I'm living with him, and you know, he's 60 years old, 61 years old, and you just sit there and you think to yourself, like, at 60 years old, man, like, going through challenges and being so upset with your life, like, what decisions could you have made that were different so that he wasn't in that situation?
Right.
And yeah, I probably went for, I don't know, 4 weeks. I took off work at the time. I was working sales at Sleep Country because that's where my dad was, and he got me a job there. And I just was like, man, like, I don't want to be the 60-year-old guy that doesn't like the life that I created for myself.
Right.
And so I really loved financial services, but I wasn't really set on being in Alberta, being in Calgary. Obviously, with the situation, it's still tough to go back to Calgary to this day. Right. And yeah, so I basically just, you know, the gentleman, Sean Patterson, who taught me the business, he'd moved here to Windsor. And yeah, we'd been talking. We were super close at the time. And we'd been talking about me coming out here and helping him grow his team and grow the business. Yeah. And I just was like, man, if I'm going to take a leap, like, this is going to be the time to take it. You know, 27 years old, 26 years old, 27 years old. You know, no family, no girlfriend.
Yeah. Nothing
tying me to Calgary. Yeah. I got back into volleyball after my swim career was over. Yeah, I met some great friends, but, you know, like, I can play volleyball wherever. So, yep. Yeah, my family was there. But I had been living on my own since I was 16.
Yeah, your swim career had kind of taught you that you could be anywhere. And
yeah, I moved away halfway through grade 12. I left Red Deer after I kind of got kicked out of my club. I was looking for something different. I was looking for some better training, some harder training. I had just come back from, I want to say, like, junior Pan Pacific Games or something. And I'd seen what all the other kids my age were training like.
Right.
All the countries, you know, we were, you know, Japan, Canada, USA, Brazil was there, Hong Kong was there. We were all in Hawaii, and we're all training in the same facility while competing 3 or 4 days later. Right. And I'm just like, man, like, if I want to compete on this level, I need something different. I want something different. And
you're seeing that they're doing different things.
Right. They're doing different things, more intense, more longer practices, tougher pace times, whatever. And my coach at the time was of the opinion that everybody does the same practice. Maybe there's pace times that are slightly different in different lanes, but everybody does the same thing. And I was like, well, but I'm 16 years old, like, training or, you know, competing against other people in the world, and I'm doing practices that the same 13, 14, 15-year-old kids are doing. Not to say that there's anything wrong with that, but that's just not what I wanted anymore. Right. And so my mom and I decided that we were going to investigate if it was possible to train in Calgary, even if it was just once or twice a week. You know, maybe this is where I get my non-confrontational things from, but we reached out just saying if it's even possible, if it was okay with my coach, if I could come up, you know, on weekends and do both Saturday practices or a Friday night, Saturday practice or something. And that coach ended up communicating to my coach that I was looking, and I basically got kicked out of my club. We'd had the conversation about being trained harder. He wouldn't
his way or the
wouldn't do
highway.
it his way or the highway.
Yeah.
And I said, well, there's other options.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that led to me being kicked out, which was unfortunate. But halfway through grade 12, I packed up, moved to Calgary, was away from my family, my friends, had to make new ones.
Right.
And 6 months later, I took a scholarship to the U.S. And so,
right.
you know, 10 years later, packing up my life and moving across the country wasn't a thing for me. Like, it didn't matter.
Been there, done that.
Been there, done that, whatever.
Yeah.
I'd done it 3 times. I went to Kentucky, I went to Calgary, I went to Victoria, and then back to Calgary, and who cares?
Right. Okay, so you end up following Sean down here.
Yep.
Looking for a fresh start. You would have probably got here fall of 2017.
Yep. October 1st.
October 1st. And you know nobody. Well, actually, that's not true. You know two people.
Two people.
You know Sean and Sean, who you happened to meet while you were fixing a basement floor in one of their houses.
Yep. And all 3 of us are in financial services.
And you're all financial service advisors.
Yep.
So
I'm
your
not selling
customer
to
base, your prospects are, sort of slight,
Yep.
to say the least. But you're going to do whatever it takes to succeed because you've been there and you've built a successful swim career and you're going to do this again. So take me through the mindset, like the shift. Like, I know nobody here. I'm couch surfing at a buddy's house that we're in the same business. I got to have some funds. I got to make some money. What do you do?
Yeah. So, luckily for 6 years or so, I had learned how to meet people and how to prospect.
Right.
And like you said, you know, the things looking back, you can see all of the amazing things and how the dots connect themselves back.
Right.
If I hadn't have met Sean, I wouldn't have gotten the business. And if I hadn't have gotten the business, I probably wouldn't have gotten a job at Sleep Country. And if that hadn't happened, you know, I wouldn't be living with my uncle, and so on and so on.
Right.
And so I said, well, where do anybody who wants financial services advice, retirement advice, planning, insurance, are trying to better themselves, trying to better their family, their financial futures. Well, where do people who want to better themselves hang out?
Right.
And that place for most people is a gym.
Yep.
So I couldn't work during the day because I needed to do financial services during the day.
Right.
So I convinced the general manager at Good Life to give me a night shift job from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. And so Monday through Thursday, I worked 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. at Good Life, cleaning up after people, you know, putting weights away, front desk, checking people in, etc. But through that, man, did I ever meet some amazing people in Windsor.
Well,
I met
at that time of day, those people are pretty dedicated.
They're super dedicated, right? Especially the morning crew. I mean, the last 2 hours of every one of my shifts, 4 to 6 o'clock in the morning, like you get the business owners, the lawyers, the accountants, the financial guys, the parents who have multiple kids, that this is the only time they can work out, but they're so dedicated to working out that's when they come.
Yeah.
And so I did that for 18 months. While I built my network of people, and I would just have conversations with people, you know, why are they coming in at 4 or 5:30 in the morning? And just, again, you know me, asking questions, very curious person. And over time, we got to know each other on a personal level. And then I would just say, hey, listen, like I moved here 2 years ago. You know that, trying to grow a business. Can I take you out for coffee?
Right.
Show you what I'm doing?
Right.
It's probably not for you, but maybe you can point me in the direction of some people.
Yeah.
And every single one of them was like, absolutely. I'm here to help. Anything you need, you let me know. And so for 18 months, I worked 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. I'd go home and sleep for about 2.5, 3 hours. And then I'd wake up, put the suit on, I'd go to the office, and I'd call people. I'd go door to door, actually, for a period of time. Every 4 to 6 p.m. or so, I'd go door to door. For 18 months, I just grinded with two different 9-10 hour stretches with like a 2 to 3 hour nap in between them, and I just grinded.
Right.
And I ended up meeting a lawyer named AJ.
Yep.
And we got into having this great conversation because I moved from Alberta to Ontario
Yep.
to run a business and be self-employed. And he'd been a lawyer in Toronto for a long time, and he was wanting to move his family back to Detroit, or at least maybe not his family because I think they were here, but he didn't want to be traveling to Toronto all the time.
Right.
So he opened up his own practice here, and we started chatting like every morning at the gym. And then he invited me to a bunch of networking sessions.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was something called the Windsor Transportation Club, which you were the president of.
Yeah.
And AJ introduced me to you, and sort of the rest was sort of history.
Yeah, I mean, so before we move on to that, I just want to highlight something. You said for 18 months you would go and work about an 8-hour shift at Good Life, and then you would nap for 2 to 3 hours and go and work maybe an 8 or 9 or 10-hour shift doing financial services, literally walking door to door, knocking on strangers' doors, telling them who you are, what you do, asking if they'd be interested in a conversation. And you did this every day for effectively 18 months.
Yeah.
And, as business owners, we've brought some people in, and you try to, this is something that baffles me because I understand that work ethic. You understand that work ethic, but so many people, what they don't understand about success, and we have this poster in our training room, is, when you see the iceberg, right, the tip of the iceberg, people get envious. They say, "Oh, I want that."
Yeah.
But the problem is they don't want to do the things that you don't see. The rest of the 90% of that iceberg chunk under the water. It's the dedication, the hard work, the discipline to do all those things. And so I find it amazing because anybody can have success. I truly believe anybody can have success at a very high level.
Mm-hmm.
But you actually, and I know it's not your quote, but I heard you say it first in training, and it's when you're not willing to sacrifice for what you want becomes the sacrifice.
100%.
And so, that's so, like, when you think about it, it's a very simple quote, and I know a lot of people have reshared that, and now that I've heard it and understood what it means, so many people are willing to sacrifice their goals because they're not willing to do some uncomfortable things. So I think it's amazing that you did that.
Thanks.
All right, and so let's talk about, so we meet, and I'm going to tell this part of the story because I've been in sales 23 years. At the time, it was about 17 years, and you approached me, and AJ introduced us, and he walked away, and you said, AJ's told me a lot about you, and listen, I'm new in Ontario, or relatively new in Ontario, and I'm just trying to figure out how I can build my business, and I know you've been successful in a similar line of business. Can I, maybe buy you a coffee or lunch and pick your brain about how you built your business? And you really stroked my ego, and I felt really good about it at the time. And, we had a great lunch, and you were a nice guy. I actually really enjoyed getting to know you. But looking back, I know now that was a sales tactic. You were looking to get to know me so you could sell me some products.
Yeah, sure.
So I shame on me for not catching that. But
I would say sales tactic in the sense of
you were prospecting,
getting to know me so that I could see if there was a way I could provide value.
Sure. Fair enough. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have done it. I'm just saying that I didn't see it coming.
You did not see it coming.
So
you kind of blew me off at first, though.
Because frankly,
you said no problem. I already have an advisor. We're already taken care of. All's good.
But if you want to have lunch or whatever,
want to have lunch, that's fine. Yeah, no problem. Cool.
And
then a few months go by, and you reached out and said,
I think,
you know what?
Well, we had built a bit of a relationship over lunch. I really did enjoy the conversation, and so one of the things that my background, I had been denied life insurance at one point. I didn't want that for my kids. My wife had some money at a bank that wasn't doing anything, and I thought, okay, well, let's give the kid a shot, and so we did. You kind of blew my mind, actually. To be honest with you, and this is something that I've encountered in my career, and especially since partnering with you, where most people, myself included at the time, don't really know enough about financial services. And so when you showed me some of the things that we now show people on a daily basis, the first thought that came to my mind is this can't be true. It's too good to be true. If it was true, everybody would be doing it.
Right.
And I really, as excited as I was to maybe explore it, I didn't really have any success because the people who I sort of counted on for advice really didn't have anything to offer. They didn't know about this. And so fast forward, our relationship, we do some business, but not really a lot. And we get to know each other. And you start working with some of my clients. We do a little bit of referral business. You joined the Windsor Transportation Club board with me, which was great because, you're a finance guy. We needed a treasurer. It worked out wonderfully. But as we got to know each other, and you earned credibility with me. And so now as we continue to have conversations, I was more inclined to believe that what you're saying is probably true. I just don't know why.
Yeah.
Why I've
There's a
never heard
barrier
it,
of some kind.
right?
Yeah.
And so I won't get too deep into the how, but ultimately we end up running into somebody who piques my interest.
Yeah.
Because they actually know about what you do. And so I sit and have lunch with your accountant at the time, and I pick his brain. And, it became glaringly obvious that there was just a big gap in financial education in our country because I'd been in insurance for, at the time, like I said, 17 years. By this point, probably 19 years. And, even being in the industry, I didn't understand the tax implications when it came to proper financial planning and the different options and the way you could actually mitigate a lot of the tax problems. So, I think, so we definitely hit on something there. And then, I would say with that, I became kind of inspired. And so the next step for me was I knew a financial advisor who didn't really have an exit strategy. And I really felt that people should hear from you because I know they're not hearing these things from their other advisors. Right. So I kind of orchestrated a bit of a meeting to see if we could, get you in to acquire this gentleman's book of business as he was getting ready to retire. And, your initial thing was, well, I can't take this on by myself. I don't have the means to do it. And I said, well, listen, what if I helped you? What if I, provided the back end support? I can help with some financing and maybe even help you build a business around this. And I had no intention of being in financial services, but I saw an opportunity that made sense. So, so we go down that road, and it didn't work out. But probably, I would say maybe less than 6 months later, an opportunity sort of popped out of nowhere. And I know I called you. You were in Europe, and I called you, and I said, hey, Sean, listen, we've been talking about doing some stuff for a while. If there's ever going to be a day that I'm prepared to just pull the trigger and get into business, it's today. And so what went through your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I was excited about it because, again, it's something that I've always wanted to do.
Right.
Always wanted to lead a team, always wanted to own my own thing, quote unquote, be in control, whatever.
Right.
And I would say the biggest thing that probably pushed me over the edge was my entire life I've always had. I would say my entire life I've had more coaches and mentors sort of believe more in me than I do. And I don't know why that is.
Right.
I just know that if I show up every day and grind, sooner or later I'm going to get where I want to go.
Right.
But my belief led, and you and I have talked a lot about this, is like I believe I'm very good, but at the same time, I think in that sense of taking over that book of business. Could I have done it by myself with you? Yeah, probably.
Mm-hmm.
But my first instinct was, whoa, that's too much, too many clients, too whatever.
And we heard that from a lot of people.
And we heard that from a lot of people too, which kind of maybe reinforced it for me
Yeah.
in the sense that I had that. But you know, you don't have that belief, Lid, that
No.
I do. You're totally, people would probably call you crazy in the sense of that stuff, right? So
Yeah.
knowing that you believed in me enough to sort of back me on that deal if it happened, when you came to me and said, hey man, listen, this is what all happened and transpired and I'm ready to do something different, even if we got to start you from scratch or whatever, let's do it.
Right.
I was like, okay, well, if he believes in me that much, then let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, off to the races we went.
Right. And so we're running out of time, so I'm going to start to wrap up here. But, you know, it's been a pretty incredible almost 4 years now, a little over 3.5 years.
Yeah.
You know, we had a lot of tough lessons.
Lots of ups and downs, lots of lessons learned.
But the one thing I'll say is I think, and this is a testament to both of us, is that, you know, even when things went sideways or something didn't work out, we've found a way to push forward.
Yeah.
And, you know, I said right from the start, there is absolutely zero chance that we are going to ever fail because we're not going to quit.
Yep.
And,
yeah. And I mean, I think that's one thing that you and I are very similar in, right? I mean, my dad teaching me that you do not quit something just because it's hard.
Right.
Is a huge lesson that I've taken away from my life and just in general. I always try to find some way to keep going, probably to my detriment.
Sometimes,
right?
for sure.
You know, you make a comment sometimes, the saying of, you know, cutting off the arm to save the body or whatever, right? Like, I've just never been that person. Yeah. I've always just been like, well, I guess it's just going to leak into the body and I don't know. We'll see what happens, right? Yeah. We'll figure it out. Because I just know that my work ethic is, and I'll say outside of the last 6 months having a child, my work ethic before that and going forward, probably here soon, is just, it's second to none. I'm okay with 18-hour days. It's okay. Yeah. It's fine with me. Because I know that I can sacrifice in the short term, coming back to what you said, like I can sacrifice in the short term all these things for the things that I want down the road.
The better life.
You know, I always wanted to make the Olympics and I sacrificed birthday parties and social functions. And, you know, I didn't have my first alcohol drink till I was probably 17 when all my friends were doing it before that. Because it's not what I wanted.
Right.
And so I just know that if I just keep one foot in front of the other, sometimes I might be in quicksand and sometimes I might be in concrete and have to lift really hard, but I'm going to keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah. Okay. So listen, we're going to wrap up. We tend to always try to end these things the same way. So I'm sure you had lots of time to give this some thought.
Yeah, it's hard for me sometimes.
It's always a hard question to answer, but Sean, tell the audience, please, what does success mean personally for you?
Yeah, it's a hard thing for me to say. I would say for me, success is going out every day, working hard to get the things that you want day in and day out. Whether they're going to happen or not. It's a lesson I learned early on that success and achievement are two very different things. Mm-hmm. I might not achieve the thing that I want to achieve, but that doesn't mean I won't be a success in areas outside of that, right?
Right.
You know, we want to grow $1 billion company. Maybe we get there. Maybe we don't. You're like, no problem, we'll get there, right? And that's your belief, Lid.
Yeah.
But my brain goes, well, like, listen, if I just keep putting one foot in front of the other, if I end at $500 million, am I going to be upset? No. And so for me, success is putting in the work, not knowing where you're going to finish, because the work has to be put in regardless.
Time will pass either way.
Time is going to pass either way, and the question becomes are you going to be fulfilled doing it, or are you going to let someone else and a paycheck dictate what your life's going to be like? And as an athlete who always strived for something high, I can't ever have a paycheck. I'd rather earn nothing than earn a guaranteed X, because I know what my life's going to be like with a guaranteed X.
Right.
And that's okay for some people. It's
Right.
just not for me.
Perfect. Well, listen, let's wrap on that. Sean, thank you for your time. I just want to encourage our audience, if you'd like to check out other episodes, you can find us on our YouTube channel or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thanks for tuning in. Cracking the Successful with Sean Penhale.